All right, so what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, man. It is your boy, and we are back. And today we need to have a discussion because apparently I don't know what I'm talking about and I am wrong. Or at least that's what I'm being told by a handful of people after Sunday's live stream. Now, in case you don't know what I'm talking about because you missed the stream on Sunday, every Sunday for the past few Sundays, we have what is called a roast stream where we look up other players' accounts in Marvel Future Fight and essentially just offer our input, let them know, hey, you should build this character, you should build them that way, hey, maybe you shouldn't build that character because they're not really that good. And we do it live because not only do you get my feedback, but you generally get the feedback of about 150 to about 200 other players, some of which have been playing the game for quite some time, so they know exactly what they're talking about, right? And on Sunday, we were talking about defense and why it does not matter in Marvel Future Fight. And I actually had a couple people, about like 6 or 7 people, let me know via Discord that I don't know what I'm talking about and that defense is actually a very important stat in Marvel Future Fight. And I've been here for 6 years and I've never seen a defense meta. I've never seen a meta where I feel the need to equip defense Urus on my characters or a defense ISO set. I've never seen it, and that day will probably never come. I say probably because there's still room for this game to grow, evolve, and change. So things could change over time. But from what I've seen and the direction that this game is heading, that is highly unlikely. All right. However, these individuals decided that they wanted to message me, and I'm not going to air anyone out because if you don't know, then you don't know. And if you don't know, this is a teachable moment, and I'm going to help you understand why defense does not matter in Marvel Future Fight. All right. So the examples that a couple of these individuals gave to me was that Thanos, Hulk, and Luke Cage are very, very tanky. And the reason for that is in part due to them having a very high defense. Now, if you look at these characters, right, and you look at Thanos, Thanos has, I believe, the highest defensive stats in the game, and that's without him even being the leader. If you put him as the leader, you can see he's rocking over 35,000 physical defense, like damn near 40,000 physical defense, right? With no physical defense Uru and 34,000 energy. And if you look at somebody like Null, he's down here in the 20s. And if you look at Mephisto, he's down here in the 20s. And if you look at Sentry, he's also down here in the 20s. And these are tier 3 natives. Granted, Thanos has a uniform and they do not. However, even Thanos having all that defense does not matter. The reason why Thanos is as tanky as he is not because of the fact that he has very high defenses. Luke Cage is arguably the most tanky character in the game right now. If you play Alliance Conquest, you will know. You'll run into some Luke Cage that you just cannot kill, or at least you cannot kill if you don't have the secret sauce. And I will tell you what the secret sauce is, so stay tuned for that. If you take a look at the Hulk, now the Hulk is not as tanky as Luke Cage, but if you take a look at the Hulk's defense and you put him up against other characters in the game, he can tank very, very well. Looking at Luke Cage's defense though, if you think the reason why Luke Cage is a tank is because of his defense, I'm speaking directly to the individuals that came to the Discord to disagree with me. And again, you can disagree with me and that's fine, but if you don't know, I'm gonna let you know. If you think Luke Cage's defense is why he's a tank, let me show you something. This girl right here, she's one of the best PvP characters in the game. But can you tell me that she's a tank? Can you tell me she's a tank? Look at her defenses. Look at her defenses. And then look at Luke Cage's defenses. If you think the make it or break it, the breaking point, if you will, is having high defense, then Yelena should also be considered to be some type of tank. She's great. She has a lot of firepower. She can kill a lot of characters in PvP. on autoplay. She can wipe out Surfer, all them, right? But is she a tank? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So get that thought out of your head. Okay, get that thought out of your head. Defense matters to you, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Let's talk. Here's why defense doesn't matter in Marvel Future Fight. It didn't matter 5 years ago, it doesn't matter now, and it probably will never matter going forward. In this game, it doesn't matter if you have 10 defense or 100,000 defense. I can instantly cut your defense in half by simply giving myself 50% ignore defense. That's that right there under critical damage. So my Thanos having almost 40,000 defense when I put him in the lead doesn't matter, because as soon as I go in battle, me having 50% ignore defense, his defense now immediately drops to 20,000. But here's where it gets even spicier. The secret sauce in Marvel Future Fight. All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go to the skill glossary and then scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I'm gonna keep putting this out there until people understand. What does it say right here? Additional Pierce. Additional Pierce is an ability to deal additional damage that ignores defense completely. Completely. Additional pierce damage applies based on the skill damage and nothing else. When you attack an opponent and you have 0 pierce on your cards, you know what happens? Math happens. The amount of attack you have and the amount of defense they have and the amount of ignore defense you have come into play. However, when you have pierce, their defense no longer matters. It's just your attack and their HP, and that is it. Unless the developers are lying to us when they go here into the skill glossary and tell us that additional pierces completely bypass your defense. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are out there building your characters and putting defense urus on them, or you're building a card set and you're trying to give yourself a whole bunch of all defense, let me just say you're playing the game backwards. And how this came to be was I saw one fellow, he had a bunch of all defense on his account, and he had this crescent card, and I was saying I would personally never put this crescent card in my set because I don't care for defense, because there's just too many ways to work around defense, right? There's ignore defense that cuts your defense in half immediately, and then with additional pierce, well, you can go up to 25%. So let's say additional pierce stacks onto ignore defense. You cut it in half and then you cut through the rest. That's your defense gone. You have 25% left at best, maybe, possibly. So ladies and gentlemen, don't waste your time giving yourself a whole bunch of defense, because that's not even where it ends. So if you want to stack up all that defense, go ahead and do that, but just take a look at this, right? A brilliant CTP of energy. All right, with this you're getting an additional 10% pierce on top of the 25 that you have passively just coming from your cards. There goes all of your defense. Okay, there goes all of your defense. That's 85% gone. You still think defense actually matters? The game is literally telling you that this is not those games where you can reduce damage to next to nothing and then just be a super tank. That's not how it works. Defense doesn't matter. It didn't matter 5 years ago, and it doesn't matter now. More than likely, with this trend, it will never matter. The reason why these characters are very, very tanky is because of their skill set. The fact that they have extremely high amounts of HP, and the fact that they heal, plus with Hulk you can give yourself even more HP. Same goes for Luke Cage. As soon as he goes into a fight, he increases his max HP and then starts healing like For example, I go into the preview menu and look at this. Before he even spawns in, he starts healing. Why? Because his tier 2 passive kicks in just like that, and he's just healing. Like, come on, man. Like I said, if you don't know, I'm gonna explain it to you. Defense doesn't matter. Don't give yourself a whole bunch of defense. There's a reason why nobody rolls for defensive ISO sets. They roll for HP shields, if anything, right? And they go all attack. The only things that matter when it comes to building a character that's a super tank is whether or not they have a lot of iframes, whether or not they have healing, whether or not they have stuff like Luke Cage where they can be immune to a certain type of damage or just be immune to all damage, right? Thanos is an outlier because he has one of the best uniform bonuses in the game currently. Look at this thing right here. Decreases damage taken by superheroes by 30%, and some of the best characters in the game are superheroes, and then on top of that, a flat 20% damage reduction from everybody else. So when he's up against superheroes, they're doing 50% less damage to him. He's jumping into iframes. What is it, like 5 different skills that has an iframe? He has invincibility, he has immunity, he has all these effects. When he's attacking, there's a 25% chance that one of his attacks will start him healing. This is no, you're not. Listen, man, you're not gonna get this kind of like tank status from just getting some defense. I'm sorry. And now that Pierce is in the game, defense is literally the most useless stat you could ever invest in. It's not going to get you anywhere, especially if you're sacrificing attack or attack related stats to get more defense. Please stop doing that. That's why a lot of you guys are struggling to clear content. Okay, the best thing you could do for yourself is get as much attack as you possibly can. If you're trying to build a tank, here's what you got to do. Get yourself a ton of HP so you can like break 100k HP on your characters or whatnot. Get yourself a bunch of dodge because there's limited ways for people to get ignore dodge. It has to be a CTP of energy, or they just have to have it passively. So if you want to tank attacks, dodging them is a good way. A CTP of regen, this one needs to be rolled higher. Ideally you want over 30% on the max HP. However, sometimes you just get shafted, so you just gotta keep trucking until you get it. Obviously doing something like I did here to give yourself an HP shield, so that even if you're getting your face bashed in, you can offset some of the damage that you're taking by putting up a fat 32% HP shield. Now there seems to be this misconception out there that for some reason Pierce only applies in PvE content, GBR, DRX, War Boss Ultimate / Legend. However, I'm here to tell you guys that's not the truth. If you think that's the case, take it from somebody who played the game for 6 months straight once we entered this Pierce meta with 0 Pierce, and now I have 15%. I can tell you I feel the difference in every piece of content. This is like having a blanket defense down ability on every single character, only unlike defense down, it applies passively, and it applies from the first second of the fight until the end of the fight. This is essentially defense down 2.0. Whereas with defense down, you have to go in, you have to apply it in that game mode, you have to stack it up to 100%, and then that's when you see the big numbers. With Pierce, that's not the case. If you have 2% Pierce, expect to do 2% more damage per second. And if you have 25% Pierce, expect to do 25% more damage minimum per second. Now, if you do the math, and from the start of the fight until the end of the fight, you're doing 2% more damage. That's a lot of damage that you get from just having 3 blue stars. And that's why Pierce is so powerful. And that's why when you go from having no Pierce to just a little bit of Pierce, you see such a big difference. Trust me when I say it applies in every piece of content, PvE, PvP. You don't have to take my word for it. All you gotta do is go to the game guide, go to skill glossary, and go right down here, and they'll tell you. All it does is just ignores defense completely. It doesn't say it ignores World Boss's defense. It doesn't say it ignores GBR defense. No, it says it ignores defense completely, which means it's applying in every single game mode. Now, for some of you guys, you seem to think it does not work in Extreme Alliance Battle, but it does work. The problem is, well, not even the problem. the situation here with the Frost Beast is a little different than most other pieces of content in Marvel Future Fight, because of the fact that the Frost Beast is essentially an immortal creature that does not have a lot of defense. What he does have is these abilities that allow him to reduce the amount of damage that you do, which is damage reduction or guaranteed dodge. And Pierce doesn't affect those two abilities. It affects your defense. So because this Frost Beast right here never had high defenses to begin with, that's why even before Pierce existed, characters with defense down never really did much against him. You guys remember when Deadpool first came out and people tried out Deadpool in ABX and they were wondering, yo, why is Deadpool not doing insane amount of damage to the Frost Beast? Well, it's simple. It's because one, the defense down wasn't applying long enough anyways, and two, and more importantly, the Frost Beast just never had high defense. He just has immortality, so he just does not die. Once his HP drops below 50 or 30% or whatever, he just bumps right back up to 100%, and you just keep going in that loop until the 3-minute timer runs out, and you just gotta do as much damage as you can, and that's pretty much it. And that's part of the reason why the CTP of Rage actually works so well in ABX if you can't like cancel the roar on the Frost Beast, because if you take a look at what the CTP of Rage describes to you right here, it says it ignores boss damage decrease by 60%. So this thing right here counters damage reduction on boss type characters, whereas Pierce just ignores the defense entirely. With Marvel Future Fight, the formula they use for the majority of the content in the game is very similar to Shadowland. For example, the higher you go, the more HP, attack, and defense they put on the bosses. And you can see right here, right? Stage 36 plus 28% attack, plus 30% defense, and plus 16% HP, right? So if you look at this and then you just take this idea and then apply it to World Boss, you can see why when you have no Pierce and then you're fighting like stage 1, and then you start getting some Pierce and you can see how much faster the stage is going down. What does that tell you? It's telling you that you're cutting through the boss's defense and just going right for the HP, right for the jugular from the start of the fight. That's what's happening, right? The formula for this game is very, very simple. It's just more attack, more HP, and more defense the higher the stages go. Lately, they've been doing something a little bit different where they'll put in characters that are like higher level than you, which means you need ignore dodge. You see that in dispatch missions, right? And then for like example, Null in War Boss Legend, Null has natively high dodge, probably due to the fact that he's a higher level than you. We don't know what levels the War Boss Legends are, but looking at this, we could assume it's something very similar. All they have to do just to be crafty is just make it so that you're level 75 and all of a sudden your damage gets cut in half, and then you really got to rely on a Pierce to cut through the defense so that when the attacks land, even if you don't have a bunch of ignore dodge, the attacks that do land, they don't have to go through that cycle of like, oh, how much defense they have and how much you attack you have and then how much ignore defense you got. None of that. It's just straight for the jugular because you're ignoring a section or a percentage of how much defense they have. And like, for example, on stage 1, maybe they code in the bosses in World Boss Legend that they have like, I don't know, 10,000 defense. But then once you get to stage 99, they got like 10 million defense. If you just ignore 2% of 10 million, that's a whole lot of extra damage that you get. So that's what I'm trying to say to you guys. It's the same thing. It's the same thing for like PvP. And that's why, for me, going from having no Pierce to having like 15% Pierce, these days PvP is just light work, bro. Like, before I had some Pierce, I was like struggling to kill people, right? And then as soon as I got some Pierce, like, I didn't even get that much more attack. I just got 15% Pierce, and then I'm just ripping people to shreds. Easy money, easy clap. So if you thought Pierce was just a PvE effect, no sir, no sir, no ma'am. You are wrong. It's for everything. It's like having a blanket defense down on every single character that you don't have to set up. They essentially created World Boss Legend and made it so that characters like Deadpool that apply defense down don't work in Legend, but then they just created a different version of defense down and now every character can get it. You feel me? So I'm gonna wrap it up right here, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's my thoughts. Maybe you guys think I'm wrong. If that's the case, man, chop it up in the comments. I'll admit I'm wrong if I'm wrong, man. But like looking at what the ability says to us and how I see it working on my account, and for a lot of people, I'm inclined to believe that, listen, man, Pierce is just cutting through people's defense. He's just going right for their HP. It's like when you're playing, you know, you guys watch Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, man. When they attack you directly and go for your life points, it's the same thing, bro. You don't got to kill the monster that is your defense no more. You just jump past that and go for the life points, man. Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyways, I'm out, man. I'm gone. Peace.